What's up, folks? Sean the Average Angler bringing another great video to you. Again, we're going to be geared towards pre-spawn, but this is going to be a little bit about when and where with these techniques, because they're very similar, but they're different, and I'm going to throw them in different places, really. And what we're talking about is pitching the cover. One, with a jig. And when will I not use a jig? When will I use something like that Magnum Rage Bug or even the X-Zone Adrenaline Craw? Let's cover the jig first, because realistically, you can throw the jig just about anywhere you can throw those other baits. I just find, and I did that for a long time, okay? I just find I can be more efficient by splitting them up in different types of cover. First, the jig, I really like open exposed cover, if you will. Okay, things like docks, edges, small pockets, maybe back into the toolies, but not a lot, just a little bit. I want to be direct with a jig, okay, meaning I don't want my line going over something or around something like it's weaving its way back through toolies. I'm quite the opposite when I'm pitching to cover with a Magnum Rage Bug. I don't know why, per se, to give you a real reason other than it's just worked for me very well. I feel like the hookup percentage is much better when your line's going through and over stuff. With a Rage Bug, I typically use a 1/2 ounce tungsten weight, and it's pegged, okay? Not pegged tight, but pegged just so you can wiggle the weight on there. I don't want it all one piece though. And of course, I use a flipping hook, straight shank flipping hook, okay? I always snell, it's just how I fish them. For a long time, I used an EWG. I switched somewhere, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago and have never gone back. The Rage Bug, the X-Zone Adrenaline Craw, same types of baits, right? A little more slender at the top, pull through things a little easier, and the X-Zone is even a little more slender. Still has those good kicking claws, which is what I like when I'm pitching back into that stuff. So when they're falling, you get some action from those claws. No smell on that. Smells like plastic, I guess, on the X-Zone. Do they claim any scent? No, they don't. Oh, it says exclusive X formula. Okay. I don't know what the formula is, but anyway. So this is a pretty good color. I think in the Rage Bug, they call it Falcon Craw. X-Zone calls it the Border Craw, right? It's got some red on one side, green pumpkin on the other. The difference is this X-Zone has some gold flake in it. And I don't have the Rage Bug sitting right here, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have gold flake. This is just a watermelon red, great all-around color, just about everywhere in the country. What I like about the Rage Bug is you got all these kickers. So even if it's falling down into only a couple feet of water with that 1/2 ounce weight, you're gonna get some kicking action out of it. Now, I found this to be very, very effective bait year-round, but particularly in the pre-spawn when I'm pitching into heavy cover. Do pay attention. If you're not getting bit on something with kicking claws, there is a time to go to that dead action type of bait, such as the beaver, the flapping hog, that type of bait. They kind of weave through things a little bit easier. So if you're trying to get through something and the 1/2 ounce isn't quite enough with the Rage Bug, well, maybe it'll get through there with the Adrenaline Craw. You got a little narrower body there. The head's going to be covered by the weight, so it doesn't tend to have as much stuff to hang up, and it'll pull through a little easier. So just be aware of your baits, your options, those kinds of things. There is the Strike King rodent, which Greg Hackney says is actually his biggest, he catches his biggest fish on that. And it's one of those dead action craw looking baits. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. There's tons of them out there. They all work. They all catch fish. Whoever has the color you like, hey, go with that one. So that's where I like to pitch the Texas rig. And I just feel like I get a better hookup in those situations. Now, by all means, I flipped a jig into a lot of those places for a lot of years and caught fish. I also had fish get off. I really now resort to the jig more around edge cover, if you will. So somewhere my line's not draped over stuff or zigzagging through it. And I really like the jig around docks. If you ever go out on a clear water impoundment and you get out on a dock and there's rock down there, a lot of times you can look around and you will find some crawdads. You'll be able to see them. As a kid in Lake Tahoe, we used to catch them with bacon tied to a string. We drop it down there, they'd hold on to it, we pull them up, we bring a bucket home of them and have a crawdad feast. But the presence with the jig is no doubt something special. And you get a better hookup in those situations where your line is in direct contact, which is why a lot of times when I talk about fishing a jig, I'm fishing a football jig. So I'm not pitching it into cover, and usually not shallow. If that's the case, I'm going to go to a head like this, an arky, a casting of some sort, where it kind of gives you a little bit of everything. Now, I still will pitch this into toolies. I just won't pitch it deep into toolies. I want to be direct, okay? When you hook a fish on a jig and you get a good hook set on them, they rarely come off, folks. If they spit the jig, it's because you didn't get it in them. Someone mentioned about how many rods I'm bringing to Clear Lake and that you don't need that many rods. Well, need and want are two different things. And I just found that for fishing certain baits, certain rods work better. So I've got lots of them. This is a 1/2 ounce casting jig here. I've got all rigged up on a Quercus 753. I have some 744s, a little heavier rod, that I would use for pitching either of these. Okay, you can go up to a flipping stick. 744, 754 in the iRod series is going to give you the same thing. Tad shorter rod, a little more accuracy, and a little less weight in the hand just because the rod's shorter. Okay, if you're fishing something all day, if this happens to be the bite I get on and I'm working that all day, it can really wear your forearm. I don't care what rod you're using, so a little bit shorter just kind of helps out in that aspect. With that mentioned, I'm going to be throwing 18 and 20 pound Sunline Sniper shooter. Okay, shooter's a little bit less stretch, a little more abrasion resistance. Just the line tie tends to be close to the ground or the rock. Yeah, you could say the same thing about a weight, but I'm not dragging this one. This one I'm going to work more through the cover. This one I'm pitching it, folks. Okay, I'm going to pitch it in there and I'm going to let it sit. Might hop it up and down once or twice, and I'm picking it up and throw it again. I'm not dragging this back to the boat, whereas the jig, I'm going to pitch into cover and I'm probably going to work it out a little ways, especially if I'm around a dock, until I dial in where those fish are positioning on the dock. I got to cover some ground to learn where they're eating it, right? Once we dial that in, hey, maybe we don't go up shallow, or maybe we don't go out deep. Maybe they're on the first pilings. Maybe they're in that 4-foot area. So dialing in, then maybe we don't drag as much. But in the beginning, I'm definitely going to cover a little water, dragging that thing out, hopping it out, popping and stopping, trying to figure out what cadence the fish want. You really want to experiment with these things. And this bait, one of my favorite things, especially in the spring of the year, you will be able to find areas with those dead toolies that are all stacked up. You've seen them, right? In the wintertime, they get dry, they get cold, they die, and you get high water and winds, and it breaks them off. Well, those things float around, they create mats. You don't need a 1 ounce weight to get through them most of the time. Typically a 1/2 ounce, and a bait like this, you can get it on top there, shake it a little bit, and that weight will start to wiggle its way through and get down to the fish there. It's a great cover for fish in the spring, and that's a great way to get to them, okay? If you find your baits hanging up with the tails, then maybe you go to one of those dead action baits. It's gonna pull through a little bit easier. The key thing cover water until you can dial in. Once you start dialing in, you'll start eliminating some things. I'm taking 25 rods. I do not intend to use all of them. Well, I may use them in practice. Who knows? I may start out right on the juice, right? If that's the case, I need to find something else for backup, or 3 or 4 backups, because that's how it is. In the springtime, you got weather patterns changing, fish moving along in the spawn cycle, so things can change quickly. You just want to be prepared. Having the rods with me allows me to use the optimal setup for what I'm going to be doing. If I leave them home and drive 4 hours and I don't have them, it's not even an option to use them. You either go buy some locally or you just go without. Now you can go without. You can probably go out there and catch a pretty fine bag just throwing a Senko on a spinning rod. Just search looking for that type of stuff, right? Well, that's not how I really like to fish. We all have different styles. My style is to try and find something that I can really dial into on big fish. I'm not looking for catching 2, 3, 4 pounders. That's a great backup to have, but it's not going to win on Clear Lake. Okay, we're going to need 7+ pounders. There's a ton of them out there. We need to find 2, 3, 4 patterns that they're on, and then you need to try and figure out where they're going from here. What's next? What's next? Because look, it's a full moon, Clear Lake. Every day things can change that quick. All right. Hope that helped you guys out. I'm Shot, the Average Angler. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.